Hey, how's it going, Captains? Admiral Hattori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I am sailing the Tier 9 Premium French battleship, the Jean Bart. So this was a pretty good game. I enjoyed it all the way to the end. I did well with the Jean Bart, but unfortunately, I do lose this game, and the ending was quite unpleasant. At some point in the game, I had to make a big decision. And I'll let you guys decide down in the comment section below whether I made the right decision or the wrong decision. So I don't recall the name of this map, but part of the reason why the ending was unpleasant is because of this map. This map is one of the more complex maps in this game, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you expect coordination with random people on a complex map, which means that it is a perfect recipe for disaster. Now, I am approaching the sea flag, and I decide to slow down and stop. And the reason why is because how the sea flag is surrounded by islands. It really obscured the view for your team to spot, which means that if you rush into the sea flag early parts of the game, you're really going in blind, not knowing that there might be 5 ships on the other side of that island, or maybe just 1 ship. So I'm taking it very cautiously to approach this side of the map. We do spot the Jean Bart and the York, and I'm about to open up on the York. Now right away I noticed that I fired my guns and this is a battleship. That means that anyone in front of me should spot me, but it looks like nobody has spotted me, which means that either that most of the team is around that other side of that island, or they barely sent any ships other than those 2 ships spotted already. Again, I was briefly spotted, and I'm going to fire another salvo on the York. This salvo isn't that great. It's going to overpenetrate the bow of the York, and the York is turning in. Now we have spotted the enemy Missouri, which is another big battleship in this game. So they have both the Missouri and Jean Bart on the side, and they also have the Tier 9 Soviet heavy cruiser, the Donskovoy. Our friendly York is going to the sea flag without any clue of what's going on the other side of that island. With those 3 big ships, she's going to pay the price. Hopefully she learns from her mistake not to do that again. Always be very cautious in the beginning parts of the game. Of course, you gotta take some sort of risk, especially when you're a destroyer player. But there are risks that you can definitely avoid. So I decided to push up, and the enemy team looks like they're contesting the sea flag. The Mince is going to check around that corner of the island to find out who is contesting the sea flag, and that is the Tier 8 American destroyer, Benson. I decided to load HE right away because HE is the most effective way to sink a destroyer. I wasn't really expecting the Benson to turn around this island that quick, and if she does charge at me and my guns aren't really quite reloaded, I would have used my reload booster, which is very unique on the French line. So unfortunately, the Benson does get around the island, and I lose the line of sights on that ship. So I'm going to fire my HE on the York. I decided to keep the HE loaded just in case if the Benson decides to suddenly reappear right away. But I regret that decision because the Benson won't reappear right away, and the York is broadside with me loaded with HE. So looking at the map, well, there goes a pretty decent salvo on this York, but back to the map, we have the B flag. Majority of team is near the B flag, and I am currently the biggest target on the C flag with a lot of big ships on this side, especially the Jean Bart and the Missouri. So I decided to turn out, especially with the Jean Bart. If you ever play any of the French battleships or even the British battleship, they are very squishy battleship. They take a lot of damage and you can die right away. Luckily, the team was able to reinforce on the side, so I decided to use my engine boost and slow down. The Benson dropped torpedoes. If I stayed there, I'm sure those torpedoes would have gotten me if I just parked right there and the Benson decided to drop torpedo on my bow. So right here, I decided to use my engine boost and reverse my ship. Now, ideally, I should be facing towards the C flag and not away, but I wasn't really certain on whether this team can hold up on the C flag. And again, it's alright because, look at that, I got a massive hit on that Missouri. I'm still able to get most of my guns on ships like the Missouri or the Donskovoy. Benson reappears around the corner. It looks like the Seattle or the Z-23 has activated one of their consumables to spot the Benson in the smoke. It could be the Z-23 hydroacoustic search, or the Seattle's radar, or even the Seattle's hydro if she is running hydro. Going to fire salvo on the Donskovoy. Donskovoy received her first major hit of the game, and I'm going to train my guns on the broadside Missouri, but because of the way this map is, there's so many islands, I'm not sure am I able to squeeze that salvo, and the Missouri suddenly disappears. So now, looking on the map, most of the enemy team is on the A and B flag, and we had the B flag. Ideally, our team should be near the B flag, open to fire on the enemy team who is approaching the B flag and coming from the A. But we give up on the B flag and we choose to sit behind the island that is blocking our field of view at the B flag. So as a result, we basically stack all of our firepower on this side. Finally, Scharnhorst takes out the Jean Bart. We took out the Benson. Now this leaves with only the Donskovoy, which is a tier 9 cruiser, and the Missouri, a tier 9 battleship. These are two ships that at the time when I was thinking we can't let go. Now, at this point, if I were to make the call, I would personally prefer that I would handle these two ships because I know that the Jean Bart is capable of handling the Missouri and the Donskovoy, because the Missouri isn't as maneuverable as the Jean Bart, especially when the Jean Bart has engine boost, and I have the reload booster, which means that if I catch the Missouri broadside, I'm going to remove her, and I'm going to also remove the Donskovoy if she is caught broadside. At the same time, we just lost our B flag, so we go into NIA flag, and I decided that I'm going to hold this angle and capture this flag. Once I capture this flag, I'm going to push the Missouri and Donskovoy. I'm going to handle two ships basically. And that was my reasoning on this point of the game. This was the decision that I had to make. The alternative, which I didn't make, was that I was going to regroup with my team, turn around and let these guys get a crossfire on our fleet, and then approach the enemy's main fleet at the B flag, as these guys sit behind the island. The problem with my approach for this decision was that I am basically waiting on these two ships and I am out of position. But then again, I justified this decision because they are also short. The enemy team is short by two of their major tier 9 ships. So to me, it was a stalemate, but at the same time, we only have one ship, which is me, in the Jean Bart, holding off two of their ships. So technically, they're at a disadvantage. Again, the alternative would have been to turn around and help my team push on the main fleet. So I was really determined to capture the flag because we really need the flag, and somebody, it looks like the Scharnhorst is getting caught up. Now the problem was that the Scharnhorst decided to join with me on taking on these two ships, and I personally felt that the Scharnhorst should have stayed with the main fleet. But then again, we kind of gave up the B flag for the enemy team, and we kind of shove ourselves into the corner. So we finally captured the C flag, which means that we have something coming into our points, and I'm going to activate the engine boost and start the approach on these two ships. Now, if you look on the minimap, we are sending ships one by one, and that's an issue. The Prince Eugen will be knocked out soon, and eventually the other ships are nearby. Our Admiral Hipper, if you haven't noticed, is AFK from the beginning, so we don't really have any use with the Admiral Hipper. Enemy Otago, enemy St. Louis or San Luis, they are approaching the C flag, and I'm going to try to get around this island as soon as possible and take out these two targets. Scharnhorst and Lenin. Now both of them are leaving the front lines and going to chase these two ships, and that was the problem with this decision. Going to fire on the broadside of the Missouri. I am angled in, but I still took a lot of damage because I think the Missouri penetrated my frontal gun armor. We take out the Missouri with the reload booster. My gun's about to be reloaded again, and let's see what's going to happen to this Danskavoy. Fired a salvo. Very disappointing return. Got 2 over penetration and 1 ricochet. And this is what I mean by a very unpleasant ending. At this point of the game, we are really losing. Not only that, the composition, the layout of our fleet is really bad. And I have achieved what I really wanted to make worth of what I decided to do. Take out these 2 ships and capture the C flag. But now the Lenin and Scharnhorst is out of position. Now earlier, if you remember when we gave up the B flag, this is a very common thing in World of Warships that I see that often, is that when your team spawns the entire main fleet, for some reason people tend to go to the opposite direction and try to go to the opposite end of the map where there's nobody there. And the worst case is that having most of your main fleet going to the opposite end. And that's what happened in this game. Most of my main fleet decided to come to the C flag on 3 ships. So now this is the situation where I really do hate, because sometimes, you know, there's that one person who suddenly dies and then they go spectate your ship, not knowing what has really happened. So a lot of people right now are pointing fingers at me, thinking that I chase a cruiser and decided to get myself out of position, when my situation was that I captured the flag and took out 2 targets that could have potentially set up a crossfire on our main fleet. But of course, at this point, I'm just going to go in and try to get as much point out as map, salvage the match, because it's at the point where there's no return. We are really losing. So looks like the Lenin has been taken out and the Scharnhorst is turning back towards the C flag. I'm going to fire a salvo on the Atago, and you can definitely tell the chat is just going crazy, blaming the 3 battleships, right? Yes, there are games where battleships are way out of position, but again, you're watching it, you're seeing me in a situation where I decided that it was worth. And personally for me, I thought it was worth. So I'll let you guys decide down in the comment section whether it was the right decision or not. Because did it cost us the game? I don't know. To me, it shouldn't cost us the game. It should have at least lead us to success. But people's opinions are different. You might think differently. But here we go. I'm pushing the C flag, and I'm trying to figure out where the enemy destroyer is at. That's my number 1 concern, because it's a French destroyer, so it's going to come quick with her torpedoes. Spot the enemy battleship, the Tier 9 Soviet battleship that I don't know how to pronounce. There's a lot of Russian ships I can't really pronounce. Now the enemy Scharnhorst has appeared, and we are completely surrounded. Going to fire a salvo onto that broadside Atago. Score a massive hit, but not enough to sink the Atago. Now my attention is trained on this destroyer, because this destroyer has torpedoes, my worst enemy. Going to lock the destroyer with my secondaries and then retrain my guns onto the Atago, because the Atago I want to take out right away. I'm going to either assume my secondary or the friendly Scharnhorst to take out that French destroyer, which I don't know how to pronounce also. And let's see. Secondaries are going off. My guns are almost loaded. I'm about to die. And I'm going to send one last Defying salvo. We get close quarters on the destroyer. Can we get a double strike? And we do get a double strike. But I am broadside to a battleship, and I'm facing a full HP, almost full HP Soviet battleship with a St. Louis HE that is going to pin the crap out of my ship. Right here, I feel the salt. I feel like taunting these guys, because I'm not going to leave this game without having fun. And there goes my Jean Bart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, very unpleasant ending. I'm kind of curious of what you guys think about my decision and whether it was a right decision or a wrong decision. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on World of Warships.